The massive underground city hummed with life, a stark contrast to the desolate surface above. Built centuries ago to withstand the cataclysm that drove humanity below ground, the city was a marvel of engineering and resilience. Here, humanity had not only survived but thrived, evolving technologically and socially in ways the surface world could scarcely imagine. Dr. Elara Martel stood at the forefront of this new era. As a leading scientist and one of the primary architects of the Emergence Project, she had dedicated her life to preparing humanity for this moment. Her eyes sparkled with a mixture of excitement and apprehension as she addressed the council for what would be the last time underground. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. We are ready to reclaim our place on the surface. Equipped with the knowledge and technology we have developed over centuries, we will face whatever awaits us with courage and determination. The council, composed of leaders from various disciplines and regions, nodded in agreement. Their faces showed the same mixture of emotions that Elara felt. This was a monumental step, fraught with unknowns, but it was also a necessary one. The emergence was meticulously planned. Scouts had been sent to the surface over the years, gathering information and mapping out the changed world. Reports indicated that the Earth was now home to several alien species, each with its own territories and societal structures. The most dominant among them were the Exalarians, a technologically advanced race with a rigid hierarchy and a penchant for order. As the massive doors of the underground city began to open, a group of specially selected individuals prepared to step into the sunlight for the first time. They were scientists, soldiers, diplomats, and explorers, each chosen for their expertise and their ability to adapt to the unknown. The first rays of sunlight pierced the darkness, illuminating the faces of the emerging humans. They stepped out cautiously, their eyes adjusting to the brightness. The landscape before them was both familiar and alien. Nature had reclaimed much of the world, with towering trees and sprawling vegetation covering the ruins of old cities. Strange creatures roamed the land, and in the distance, the spires of alien structures rose against the sky. Captain Aidan Cole, the leader of the expeditionary force, raised his hand to shield his eyes from the sun. He was a seasoned soldier, trained in both traditional combat and the advanced warfare developed underground. His gaze swept the horizon, assessing potential threats and points of interest. "Stay alert," he commanded. "We don't know what's out here." The team moved forward, their movements synchronized and purposeful. They set up a temporary base at the entrance to the underground city, deploying drones and sensors to scan the surroundings. The air was filled with the hum of technology and the chirping of unfamiliar wildlife. As they explored the area, the first contact with the Exalarians occurred. A group of alien scouts, curious about the sudden activity, approached cautiously. They were humanoid in appearance, but with distinct features. Elongated limbs, luminescent skin, and eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Dr. Martel stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. This was the moment they had prepared for, the first contact with an alien race. She raised her hand in a gesture of peace, hoping that their intentions would be understood. "Greetings," she said, her voice steady. "We are humans, returning to the surface after many years. We come in peace and seek to understand this new world." The Exalarians regarded her with a mix of curiosity and wariness. Their leader, a tall figure with an air of authority, stepped forward. He spoke in a melodious language that the human translators struggled to interpret. After a moment, he switched to a halting version of English, a relic of past encounters with humans. "Humans, return. Why?" Dr. Martel took a deep breath. "Our home was the surface, long ago." The Exalarian leader considered her words carefully. Coexistence. Thus began the delicate process of building a bridge between two vastly different civilizations. Both sides had much to learn about each other, and the path to mutual understanding was fraught with challenges. As the humans established their presence on the surface, they would face not only the complexities of alien diplomacy, but also the harsh realities of a world that had moved on without them. The emergence had begun, and with it, a new era of discovery, conflict, and hope for the future of humanity. The initial days of humanity's return to the surface were marked by a tenuous balance of curiosity and tension. The alien races, particularly the Exalarians, watched the humans with cautious interest. The Exalarians were the most technologically advanced species on the surface. Their sleek cities and advanced infrastructure, a stark contrast to the ruins of old human civilization. The tension between the new and old worlds hung in the air, palpable to all who ventured out of the safety of the underground cities. Dr. Elora Martel had become an unlikely diplomat, thrust into the role by necessity rather than choice. Her background in science and engineering had not prepared her for the intricacies of alien politics, yet her calm demeanor and quick intellect made her a natural at navigating these treacherous waters. She spent long hours in conversation with the Exalarian leader, Torin, trying to understand their culture and convey humanity's intentions. "Your technology," Torin remarked one evening as they stood on a balcony overlooking the Exalarian capital. "It is different from ours. Less elegant, more robust." Ilara smiled, nodding. "Necessity breeds innovation. We had to adapt to survive underground. Our technology is designed for efficiency and sustainability, not aesthetics." Torin's luminous eyes reflected the city lights as he considered her words. "Survival is a common goal. Perhaps we are not so different after all." Yet, despite these moments of understanding, mistrust lingered on both sides. The Exalarians had long dominated the Earth, the culture deeply ingrained in the planet's new order. The return of humans threatened to disrupt this balance, and not all Exalarians were as open-minded as Torin. Within the Exalarian Council, voices of dissent grew louder. In the human camp, Captain Aiden Cole faced his own set of challenges. The soldiers under his command were well-trained and disciplined, but the unfamiliar terrain and the constant presence of alien observers kept everyone on edge. Patrols were frequent, and every rustle in the underbrush was met with a swift and vigilant response. One evening, as Aiden reviewed the day's reports, a commotion at the perimeter drew his attention. He hurried to the scene to find a group of Exalarian youths, barely more than children, arguing with the human guards. They were gesturing animatedly, their melodic language rising and falling in an incomprehensible cadence. "What's going on here?" Aiden demanded. One of the guards, Private Lewis, stepped forward. "Sir, they were caught trying to sneak into our camp. No weapons, just curious, I think." Aiden studied the youths. Their luminous eyes were wide with a mix of fear and defiance. He sighed, motioning for the guards to lower their weapons. "Let them go. They're just kids." The Exalarian youths hesitated for a moment before scampering back into the woods, casting wary glances over their shoulders. Aiden watched them disappear, a frown creasing his brow. "We need to find a way to build trust," he muttered. "We can't have incidents like this escalating." Meanwhile, within the human camp, tensions were also brewing. The return to the surface had not been universally welcomed. There were factions within the underground cities who believed that humanity should have stayed hidden, avoiding conflict and focusing on their own advancement. These dissenters viewed the surface as a dangerous unknown, filled with unpredictable variables. Among them was Dr. Nathaniel Reed, a brilliant but reclusive scientist who had argued vehemently against the emergence. Reed's warnings of potential alien hostility and the risks of surface radiation were well documented. He spent his days in a makeshift lab, working on projects he refused to share with the rest of the team. Elora visited Reed one afternoon, hoping to bridge the gap between their differing viewpoints. She found him hunched over a complex array of monitors, his face illuminated by the glow of data streams. "Nathaniel," she began gently, "we need your expertise. The surface is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity." Reed didn't look up. An opportunity for disaster, perhaps. "We have no idea what we're truly facing out here." Elora sighed, taking a seat beside him. "That's why we need to work together. Your knowledge could be invaluable in understanding the new environment and finding ways to coexist with the Exalarians." For the first time, Reed looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. "And what if coexistence isn't possible? What if our return triggers a conflict we can't win?" Elora met his gaze steadily. "Then we adapt, just as we always have. But we won't know unless we try." As the days turned into weeks, The fragile truce between humans and Exalarians began to show signs of strain. Skirmishes broke out in border areas where human explorers and Exalarian settlers came into accidental contact. Each incident fueled the growing distrust, and both sides began to fortify their positions. In one such area, a human team led by Lieutenant Sarah Quinn was conducting geological surveys. The region was rich in minerals that could be crucial for rebuilding human infrastructure. However, it was also perilously close to a Xalarian enclave. Sarah's team was equipped with advanced scanners and drones, their presence marked by the hum of machinery and the occasional burst of chatter over the comms. They worked diligently, mapping the terrain and collecting samples. One afternoon, as they were preparing to move to a new location, a group of Xalarian warriors appeared, weapons at the ready. Sarah immediately signaled her team to hold their ground, but not to engage. The leader of the Xalarian group, a tall and imposing figure named Kiros, stepped forward. "You are trespassing on our land," he stated in heavily accented English. Sarah kept her hands visible, projecting calm. "We are here on a scientific mission. We mean no harm." Kiros's eyes narrowed. "Your presence is a threat. Leave, or we will be forced to take action." Before Sarah could respond, a sudden explosion rocked the area. One of the human drones had malfunctioned, its power core detonating with a blinding flash. The Exalarians, already on edge, took this as an act of aggression and opened fire. Chaos erupted. Sarah's team scrambled for cover, returning fire in self-defense. The skirmish was brief but intense, ending with casualties on both sides. As the dust settled, Sarah realized the gravity of the situation. This incident would only deepen the mistrust and could spark a larger conflict. Back at the human base, the news of the skirmish spread quickly. Captain Aiden Cole called an emergency meeting, bringing together the leaders of the various human factions. "We can't afford to let this escalate," Aiden said, his voice firm. "We need to reach out to the Xalarians and de-escalate the situation." Dr. Martell nodded in agreement. "I'll arrange a meeting with Torin. We need to show them that this was an accident, not an act of war." The meeting was held in a neutral zone, a small clearing in the forest where the two sides could come together without the threat of immediate violence. Torin arrived with a delegation of Xalarian officials, their expressions guarded. Alara and Aiden led the human delegation, accompanied by a few key advisors. They approached the Xalarians slowly, their hands raised in a gesture of peace. "We regret the incident," Alara began. "It was not our intention to provoke or harm your people. The explosion was an accident, a malfunction of our equipment." Torin listened, his expression unreadable. "Accidents can be deadly. Trust is fragile and easily broken." Aiden stepped forward. "We understand the gravity of the situation. We propose a joint investigation to determine the cause and prevent future incidents. We must find a way to coexist." There was a long silence as the Xalarians conferred among themselves. Finally, Torin spoke. "Very well. We will participate in this investigation. But know this. Our patience is not infinite." The tension remained, but a small step toward cooperation had been made. Both sides agreed to establish a communication channel to prevent misunderstandings and to share information that could help maintain the fragile peace. As the days passed, the joint investigation team worked tirelessly. Scientists and engineers from both sides analyzed the drone wreckage, piecing together the events that led to the explosion. Through their cooperation, a mutual respect began to grow, though it was tempered by the ever-present undercurrent of distrust. Dr. Reed, despite his initial reluctance, found himself drawn into the investigation. His expertise in robotics and energy systems was invaluable, and he began to form a tentative friendship with one of the Xalarian engineers, a brilliant and inquisitive mind named Lyra. Late one evening, as they worked side by side in the makeshift lab, Lyra turned to Reed with a thoughtful expression. "Your technology fascinates me. It is so different from ours, yet there is a beauty in its functionality." Reed smiled, a rare occurrence. "Necessity breeds innovation. We had to find ways to survive with limited resources. But your technology, it's like art in motion." Lyra's eyes shimmered with a soft glow. Perhaps we can learn from each other. There is much we do not know, and much we can share. Despite these moments of cooperation, the larger political landscape remained volatile. Within the Exalarian Council, factions vied for power, each with its own vision for dealing with the human presence. Some advocated for peaceful coexistence, seeing the potential for mutual benefit. Others, like the influential counselor Zarek, saw humanity as a threat that needed to be contained. Zarek's voice was powerful and persuasive. These humans are invaders, plain and simple. They come with their technology, their weapons, and their ambitions. We cannot allow them to destabilize our world. His words found a receptive audience among those who feared change and resented the disruption of their established order. The debate within the council grew increasingly heated, with alliances forming and breaking as each side jockeyed for position. On the human side, similar divisions emerged. Some argued for a more aggressive stance, believing that only through strength could they secure their place on the surface. Others, like Dr. Martel and Captain Cole, pushed for diplomacy and cooperation, understanding that long-term survival depended on building alliances. One evening, as Alara walked through the human camp, she encountered a small group gathered around a makeshift memorial. It was for the fallen members of the survey team, a poignant reminder of the cost of their mission. She stood in silence, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavily on her shoulders. Aiden approached, his presence a comforting solidity in the uncertain world. "We lost good people," he said quietly, "but we can't let their sacrifice be in vain." Alara nodded, her resolve hardening. Together they returned to their respective tasks, each determined to find a path to peace amidst the growing chaos. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but they knew that the future of humanity and the alien races now depended on their ability to navigate this delicate balance. As the chapter drew to a close, the seeds of both cooperation and conflict had been sown. Humanity's return to the surface was proving to be more complex and perilous than anyone had anticipated. The clash of civilizations was inevitable, but within it lay the potential for a new and better world, if only they could find a way to coexist. The joint investigation into the drone explosion had begun to build a fragile bridge between humans and Exalarians, but the path to true understanding remained treacherous. Beneath the surface, old secrets and new mysteries lay in wait, ready to shape the future of both species. The human camp buzzed with activity as scientists and engineers from both sides worked side by side. Tents and makeshift laboratories housed an array of equipment, their hums and beeps creating a symphony of progress. The tension from previous skirmishes was palpable, but a sense of cautious optimism began to take root. Dr. Nathaniel Reed and Lyra, the Exalarian engineer, had formed an unlikely partnership. They spent long hours analyzing the drone wreckage, their conversations ranging from technical details to philosophical debates about their respective cultures. One evening, as they pored over the latest data, Lyra paused, her luminescent eyes reflecting the screen's glow. "Nathaniel, do you ever wonder why our species were destined to meet? Why now, after all these centuries?" Reed looked up, his expression thoughtful. "I've asked myself that question many times. Perhaps it's fate, or maybe it's simply a coincidence. But whatever the reason, we're here now, and we have a chance to shape the future." Lyra nodded, her gaze distant. "There are legends among my people about a time when the Earth was shared by many races, not just humans and Exalarians. Perhaps our histories are more intertwined than we know." Intrigued, Reed decided to delve deeper into the ancient records stored in the underground city. With Alara's support, he gained access to the archives, a vast repository of knowledge accumulated over centuries. As he sifted through the old texts and digital records, he began to piece together a narrative that hinted at a long-forgotten connection between humans and the alien races now inhabiting Earth. Meanwhile, Elora Martel continued her diplomatic efforts with Torin and other Exalarian leaders. She spent her days in meetings and negotiations, her nights reviewing reports and strategizing with Aiden Cole. The pressure was immense, but she remained resolute, driven by the belief that peace was possible. One afternoon, Torin invited Elora to visit a sacred site deep within Exalarian territory. It was a rare gesture of trust, and Alora accepted, curious about the significance of the location. They traveled through lush forests and across shimmering rivers, the landscape a testament to the resilience of nature. Eventually, they arrived at a towering stone structure covered in intricate carvings that glowed faintly in the twilight. "This is the Temple of Echoes," Torin explained, his voice reverent. "It is a place of great historical and spiritual importance to my people. Here, we can connect with the memories of our ancestors and seek guidance for the future." Alara felt a sense of awe as they entered the temple. The air was cool and filled with a soft, melodic hum, as if the stones themselves were singing. Torin led her to a central chamber, where a large, translucent crystal pulsed with a gentle light. "Place your hand on the crystal," Torin instructed. "It will share with you the echoes of the past." Hesitant but curious, Alara reached out and touched the crystal. Instantly, her mind was flooded with images and sensations, a kaleidoscope of memories spanning millennia. She saw glimpses of ancient civilizations, both human and alien, working together in harmony. She felt the pain of conflict and the joy of reunion, the ebb and flow of history playing out before her eyes. When the visions finally subsided, Alora was left breathless, her heart pounding. These memories, they show a time when our people were not so different. We shared this world once. Torin nodded, his expression somber. "Yes, but that time was lost to war and division. Perhaps we can learn from those echoes and find a way to rebuild what was broken." Back at the human camp, Reed's research had led him to a startling discovery. Buried deep within the archives were records of a secret project initiated by the last surface governments before humanity retreated underground. The project, codenamed Genesis, aimed to create a series of underground bunkers and repositories to preserve human knowledge and culture in the event of a global catastrophe. But there was more. The records hinted at a collaboration between human scientists and a mysterious alien race, one that had shared advanced technology and knowledge in exchange for sanctuary on Earth. This race, known only as the Eldarans, had vanished from the historical record, leaving behind only fragments of their existence. Reed shared his findings with Alora and Aiden, their reactions a mix of disbelief and intrigue. If the Eldarans were real, and they did collaborate with our ancestors, it could explain some of the technological leaps we made before the cataclysm, Reed said. "We need to find out more." Alora agreed. Torin mentioned legends about other races. "Maybe the Exilarians have more information about the Eldarans. We should ask." The following day, Elora and Reed met with Torin and Lyra, presenting their findings. The Exilarians listened intently, their expressions a blend of curiosity and concern. "The Eldarans are known to us," Torin admitted. "They were a wise and powerful race, but their fate is shrouded in mystery. Some say they ascended to a higher plane of existence. Others believe they were wiped out in the great wars that ravaged the earth." Lyra's eyes glowed with interest. If they left behind any artifact or knowledge, it could be invaluable to both our peoples. The decision was made to launch a joint expedition to search for Eldaran relics. The mission would be dangerous, venturing into uncharted territories and facing unknown threats, but the potential rewards were too great to ignore. The expedition team comprised a mix of human and Exilarian scientists, engineers, and soldiers. They set out with a sense of purpose, guided by ancient maps and modern technology. Their journey took them through dense forests, across treacherous mountains, and into the ruins of long-forgotten cities. One evening, as they camped near a crumbling stone structure, Alora and Torin shared a quiet moment by the fire. The night was still, the stars shining brightly overhead. "Do you believe we can truly find a way to coexist?" Alora asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. Torin gazed into the flames. "I want to believe it is possible, but it will require great effort and sacrifice from both sides. We must be willing to let go of old grudges and embrace a new future." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion at the edge of the camp. A scout had returned, breathless and wide-eyed, with news of a discovery. The team quickly gathered their equipment and followed the scout to a hidden valley, where a massive, half-buried structure loomed in the moonlight. It was unmistakably Eldoran, its design both alien and eerily familiar. The walls were covered in intricate carvings and strange symbols glowed faintly in the darkness. As the team approached, a sense of awe and trepidation settled over them. Inside, they found a treasure trove of artifacts and technology, preserved in remarkably good condition. There were crystalline data storage devices, advanced energy generators, and a central chamber that appeared to be some kind of control room. Reed and Lyra worked feverishly to decipher the Eldaran technology, their minds racing with possibilities. They discovered records of the Eldarans' collaboration with early human scientists, detailing the exchange of knowledge and the construction of the underground bunkers. But there was more. The records also contained warnings about a great threat, a force that had driven the Eldarans to seek refuge on Earth. The details were fragmented, but the implications were clear. The same threat could still be out there, lurking in the shadows. As the expedition continued to uncover the secrets of the Eldaran structure, tensions back at the human and Exalarian settlements grew. News of the discovery spread quickly, and not everyone was pleased. Zarek, the influential Exalarian counselor, saw the human presence as a growing danger and began to rally support for a more aggressive stance. Within the human camp, dissenters like Dr. Reed found themselves at odds with those who believed in a more isolationist approach. The debate over how to handle the new discoveries and the future of human-Xalarian relations threatened to tear both societies apart. Elora and Torin, aware of the mounting pressure, knew they had to act quickly. They decided to convene a summit, bringing together leaders from both sides to discuss the findings and chart a course for the future. It was a risky move, but they hoped it would help forge a path to peace. The summit was held in a neutral zone, a vast open plain where tents and makeshift structures were erected to house the delegates. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as representatives from various factions gathered, their faces reflecting a mix of hope and skepticism. Elora opened the proceedings with a heartfelt speech, outlining the importance of the Eldaran discoveries and the potential for a new era of cooperation. "We stand at a crossroads," she said. "Our choices now will determine the future of our world. We must find a way to work together, to build a new society that honors our past and embraces our shared destiny." Torin followed, his voice resonating with authority and conviction. "The memories of our ancestors teach us that unity is our greatest strength. We have the opportunity to learn from each other, to grow together, and to protect our world from the threats that lie beyond our understanding." The discussions that followed were intense and often heated. Zarek and his supporters argued vehemently against any further cooperation, citing the potential dangers and the need to preserve Exalarian sovereignty. On the human side, isolationists voiced similar concerns, fearing that integration with the alien races would dilute their identity and lead to unforeseen consequences. Amidst the debates, voices of reason and reconciliation emerged. Lyra spoke passionately about the potential for technological and cultural exchange, highlighting the benefits of collaboration. Reed, once a skeptic, now advocated for a balanced approach, acknowledging the risks but emphasizing the opportunities. As the summit progressed, it became clear that there were no easy answers. The path to coexistence would be fraught with challenges requiring patience, compromise, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. On the final day of the summit, a breakthrough occurred. Reed and Lyra, working tirelessly through the night, had managed to activate a piece of Eldaran technology, a holographic projector that displayed a map of the ancient world and the locations of other Eldaran structures. The revelation stunned the delegates. The map showed the extent of the Eldaran presence on Earth, revealing hidden sites that could hold even more secrets and technologies. It was a tangible reminder of the vast potential that lay before them, if only they could find a way to unlock it together. Elora and Torin seized the moment, calling for a unified expedition to explore the Eldaran sites and uncover their mysteries. They proposed the formation of a joint task force, composed of the best and brightest from both species, to lead the effort. The proposal was met with cautious approval. The delegates recognized the significance of the Eldaran discoveries and the need for cooperation, But they also understood the risks. Trust would have to be built slowly, through shared experiences and mutual respect. As the summit drew to a close, a sense of tentative hope began to take root. The delegates returned to their respective homes with a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to the path of cooperation. The joint expedition was set to begin, marking the next chapter in the delicate dance between humans and Exalarians. Elara and Torin stood together on the open plain, watching as the delegates departed. "We've taken first step," Elara said, her voice filled with determination. "Now we need to make sure we don't falter." Torin nodded, his expression resolute. "The road ahead will be difficult, but I believe we can find a way. Our ancestors' memories guide us, and our shared future depends on our ability to learn and grow together." As they prepared to return to their respective camps, the sense of possibility hung in the air. The secret of the past had been unearthed, revealing a path forward that was both daunting and exhilarating. The journey was just beginning, and the fate of their world hung in the balance. The expedition team, composed of human and Exalarian explorers, scientists, and soldiers, set out with a sense of purpose and unity. They ventured into the unknown, driven by the hope that the secrets they uncovered would pave the way for a brighter future. Thus, the chapter closed with the promise of discovery and the determination to forge a new path. The clash of civilizations had revealed both the potential for conflict and the possibility of cooperation. As the expedition moved forward, the legacy of the past would guide them, and the hope for a shared future would sustain them.